Travis McCoy slumped over a scratched metal counter in a neon-lit bar buried deep inside the underbelly of Neo-Mars. District 9, the synthetic whiskey in his hand burned going down, but not as bad as the words Melissa had left him with before. She walked out of his life for good. You're 32, Travis. Maybe stop playing with alien junk and get a real job. She didn't understand. Nobody did. But Travis wasn't some scavenger scraping credits off Romanceme, was as an archaeologist, or at least he used to be, before the loans, the debts, and the drinking caught up with him. The bar stank of ozone, alien cologne, and desperation. Around him, the Zone 9 auction floor buzzed with sellers hawking everything from authentic Martian teeth to lightly cursed Venari idols. He was broke, hungover, and sitting on the edge of giving up, when Ginger 47, his floating documentation droid, hummed to his side. You're deteriorating again, Travis, Ginger droned, his chrome frame reflecting the sickly green light of the room. Perhaps if you stopped drinking and focused on acquiring valuable merchandise, your business might not be collapsing. Travis ignored him. Got anything interesting on the floor tonight? Ginger's sensors flicked to the crowd forming around Lot 63. Possibly a statue, allegedly from the Zarati sector. Travis perked up. The Zarati Empire had vanished 1,000 years ago. Real artifacts from that era were worth fortunes if you could prove they were real. Most were fakes, but Travis had an eye. He pushed through the crowd and saw it. The statue stood about 6 feet tall, carved from shimmering violet crystal. It was a woman alien, yes, but almost hauntingly beautiful. Her features were sharp but graceful, her expression calm, almost smug. She wore nothing but intricate etchings across her body, like ceremonial markings. The crowd murmured jokes and disbelief. Another fancy garden gnome, someone muttered. Travis wasn't laughing, his eyes locked on the base of the statue. The inscriptions curled around it, in ancient Imperial Zarati. He hadn't read the language in years, but something about the script triggered an old memory from university. He leaned in. The translation came slowly. The throne lies empty. A kiss is the key. His fingers tingled. This thing's real, Travis whispered. Real stupid, Ginger replied. You have 137 credits in your account, and owe twice that in fines. The auctioneer wheezed Lot 63. Fancy statue. Starting at 50 credits. 100, Travis said loudly. The crowd turned, startled. The other bidders went silent. No one bid against him. Sold out as Harkin's assistants rolled the statue toward him. Travis pulled out the last of his cash and signed. You're insane, Ginger muttered. Just drunk enough to be brave, Travis replied. They placed the statue near the bar as he examined it. Up close, it felt warmer than stone had any right to be. The details were exquisite. The craftsmanship was light years beyond anything modern. Her eyes, carved with uncanny precision, seemed to watch him. Hey folks, he shouted to the bar, half-drunk confidence bubbling. Want to see something fun? People turned to look. She's got a message written here. A kiss is the key. Maybe it'll turn into a princess, right? Laughter. He grinned, stepped forward, and pressed his lips to the statue's mouth. Instead of cold stone, he felt heat, softness, breath. A shock of light exploded around him. Travis staggered back as the entire auction house gasped. The statue cracked, not broke, shed, like an egg hatching. Standing in its place was the same woman, but real, alive. Her skin glowed like polished amethyst. Her silver hair shimmered like liquid moonlight. She was tall, otherworldly, and unmistakably, gloriously alive, and naked. The room fell into dead silence. Then, she opened her eyes blazing gold and smiled at Travis. Her voice was low and resonant. You want to be my mate? Half the room screamed. The other half filmed. Travis's jaw dropped. Ginger's optical sensors zoomed. "Travis," he said, monotone, "you may have just married an alien." The woman stepped closer, like a predator. "I am Shariah, of the House of Starfire," she said, "Imperial Guardian of the Zarati throne. And by the laws of my people, your kiss has bound us." "Bound?" Travis choked. "To what exactly?" "To me," she said sweetly. "Forever." The bar exploded in panic as people scrambled, but Travis couldn't move. Her golden eyes burned into his soul, and in that moment, some part of him knew his life had just changed forever. Travis couldn't feel his legs, whether it was the shock, the glow radiating off the naked alien, woman now claiming to be his mate, or the last shot of synth whiskey, he didn't know. Shariah stood before him like a goddess reborn, unfazed by the chaos erupting around them. The auction house had become a mess of scrambling bodies, shouting, and flashing cameras. Some ran, some filmed. One brave fool tried to touch her. She threw him across the room without even blinking. Travis whispered to Ginger, "Please tell me I'm hallucinating." "You are not," the droid replied flatly. "Also, I'm recording everything for legal documentation and possible viral monetization." Shariah turned toward Travis, eyes glowing with something more than just light. "We need to leave. Now." "Why?" "You just woke up, and we're already running. You awakened an Imperial Guardian. There are those who have waited centuries for this moment, and not all of them wanted to end peacefully." As if to prove her right, the doors of the auction house burst open. Federation security troopers stormed in, weapons raised. Their commander, a grim-faced woman in combat armor, barked an order. "Everyone freeze. Unknown alien entity, you are under arrest." Travis instinctively raised his hands. Shariah didn't move. "I bow to no one," she said coldly. Travis looked between her and the soldiers. "Okay, I know you're strong and possibly immortal, but those guns are very real. I do not require your permission, mate," Shariah said, "but your concern is noted." She stepped forward. The troopers responded as expected. They fired. What happened next shouldn't have been possible. Shariah moved like a storm. Her body flowed through the blasts, dodging and deflecting with grace that didn't seem bound by gravity. She didn't kill, but every movement disabled. One trooper lost his rifle. Another slammed into the wall. The last few backed off, unsure whether to fight or flee. Travis stood frozen. Then he ducked behind a crate, heart pounding. Ginger hovered close, broadcasting quietly. "Combat analysis. Subject Shariah is exhibiting superhuman strength, reflexes, and control. Recalibrating definition of insanely hot." When the dust cleared, Shariah stood unharmed, glowing, and completely unbothered. The auction house looked like it had hosted a riot. She turned to Travis. "Come, mate. There will be more." "More what?" Travis asked. "Enemies. Questions. Regrets," she said, moving toward the rear exit. "But if we move quickly, we can escape. And go where? I don't even know who you are." She paused, golden eyes softening just a little. "You'll learn everything. But right now, we need a ship." Travis followed, because what else could he do? As they reached the alley behind the auction house, the sound of Federation sirens filled the air. A sleek security shuttle hovered nearby, its hatch still open. "You want to steal a government ship?" Travis asked. "I prefer the term commandeer." Before he could argue, Shariah was already moving. Two guards stood by the hatch. She disarmed one with a twist of his wrist, knocked the other unconscious with a flick of her palm, and stepped aboard like she owned it. Travis hesitated, then clambered after her. Inside, she slipped into the pilot's seat like she'd flown one 1,000 times. The console lit under her touch. "You know how to fly this thing. I once piloted as a cruiser through a dying star. This is simpler." The shuttle rose with a hum. Travis gripped the seat. Okay, he said. Now can you explain what's going on? Shariah didn't look at him as she worked. You awakened me. That alone makes you important. But the kiss completed the bond. Yeah, you mentioned that. What does it mean exactly? Are we like married now? She paused, then turned to him with a small smile. By Zarati law, yes. Travis's heart skipped. Oh great. I got space married to a 1,000-year-old alien warrior, while drunk, and now we're fugitives. I prefer the term bonded champions, she said, before he could respond. A warning light flared on the panel. We're being followed, Shariah said. By who? Her expression darkened. Crimson cultists. They've hunted me for centuries. Of course. They have 3 ships appeared on the scanner, closing fast. Okay, Travis said, strapping in. You've got this, right? Shariah's eyes burned gold. I was born for this. The shuttle banked hard as laser fire streaked past. Travis closed his eyes and muttered, Next time I kiss something, it's going to be a vending machine. Shariah laughed, and somehow, even through the madness, that laugh made him feel like they just might survive this. The stolen Federation shuttle screamed through the stars, its engines pushed to the edge as Shariah darted between debris fields and asteroid clusters like she was dancing through a battlefield. Behind them, 3 crimson-hulled cult ships pursued, with ruthless precision, their weapons lighting up the void in red flashes of destruction. Travis gripped his seat with white knuckles, trying not to scream every time they narrowly avoided obliteration. You're really good at this, he said between gasps. Like, terrifyingly good. I was bred for war, Shariah replied, calmly, her hands flying across the controls. But I've always preferred strategy over slaughter. Aren't those the same thing? Her lips twitched. Only if you're bad at one. A warning light pulsed. One of the cult ships was gaining. They're faster, Ginger reported, his voice somehow calm despite the chaos. And they're not firing to disable. They're firing to kill. Travis turned to Shariah. So who exactly are these Crimson Cult maniacs, and why do they want you dead? They believe the star crystal belongs to them, she said, that it should be used to restore the Zarati Empire under their rule. Their leader's Thrak was once a general. Now he's a fanatic. And he's after you because I am the key, she answered. The last Imperial Guardian. The only one who can unlock the crystal. And now, so are you. Travis blinked. Me? I don't even have a pilot's license. The bond we share is psychic, she said when you kissed me. The ancient magic of my people recognized it as willing union. Now, you're linked to the crystal. You are important. Travis leaned back and groaned. I really need to stop making life-changing decisions while drunk. Shariah didn't laugh. Instead, she shot him a glance that made his heart stutter. You are chosen. Not by accident, not by mistake. There's more to you than you know. Travis didn't feel like much, just a washed-up xenorchaeologist with debt and sarcasm, but her words sparked something deep inside. Something stubborn and strange. The ship jolted as a blast caught their tail. We need to board one of their ships, Shariah said suddenly. Come again. She stood, heading toward the rear hatch. Our shuttle is too damaged. We'll take theirs. You want to hijack a cult warship? Do I look like someone trained for zero-G combat? No, she said, pausing by the hatch. But you're bonded to me. That gives you protection and courage. That's not how courage works. But she had already opened the hatch. A second later, Shariah wrapped her arms around Travis and launched them into open space. The cold hit him like a punch to the chest. Vacuum silence pressed in, deafening and endless. His lungs screamed in protest, but Shariah's armor shielded them both in a flickering field of energy. She moved like a missile toward the cult ship's hull, dragging Travis along like luggage. The enemy ship loomed, its outer airlock rushing toward them. Shariah activated something on her wrist, and boom. They crashed through. The cultists inside barely had time to react. Shariah struck like a storm. Travis rolled behind cover, trying not to get crushed or shot. Bodies flew. Weapons clattered. Alarms blared. And in the middle of it all, Shariah stood glowing with battle rage, her eyes, twin suns of fury. One cultist tried to sneak up behind her. "Behind you," Travis shouted. She pivoted, fired, and dropped the attacker. "Well done," she called. "I'm not useless," Travis muttered to himself. "Just mostly terrified." The rest of the cultists retreated. Shariah grabbed Travis's hand and pulled him toward the ship's command deck. "Why are you doing this?" he asked between gasps. "Why not just escape and hide?" "Because we can't run forever," she said. "Ixtharak will keep coming. The only way to end this is to reach the star crystal first and use it for what it was meant for." "Which is what, exactly?" "To give my people a choice. Not conquest, not vengeance, but freedom." Travis stared at her, his pulse pounding. He felt something shift inside him, something powerful. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about doing the impossible. And maybe, just maybe, changing the galaxy. The door to the command deck hissed open. "Let's fly this thing," Shariah said, and this time, Travis didn't hesitate. The commandeered cult corvette slipped into hyperspace with a shudder, its crimson hull now bearing fresh scars from Shariah's boarding assault. Travis sat at the co-pilot's console, fingers trembling over unfamiliar controls, while the star lines blurred outside the viewport. He had never flown anything larger than a cargo skiff, but Shariah's quick listens and the strange intuition bleeding through their psychic bond kept them on course. Ginger-47 hovered beside him, projecting schematics of the Zarati home system. Estimated arrival at Zareth Prime in 11 minutes. Probability of hostile presence extremely high. Travis exhaled. "Hostile is our new normal, buddy." He glanced at Shariah. She stood at the navigation halotable, violet skin glowing under the dim bridge lights, eyes fixed on a rotating map of the ruined imperial palace. For the first time since her awakening, she looked uncertain. "You're worried," Travis said, quietly. "I am." "Focused," she answered, but her shoulders remained tense. "The crystal's chamber is still sealed. Only a guardian and bonded mate may open the threshold, yet Ixtharak will try anything to break tradition. If he reaches the gate first, he won't," Travis cut in, "because we're going to beat him there." Shariah's gaze softened. "You speak with a warrior's confidence." "I'm faking it," he admitted, then managed a grin. "But sometimes that works." Alarms chimed. Ginger's sensor arrays flared red. Multiple hyperspace signatures cult ships dropping from FTL behind us. Travis felt his stomach lurch. "They traced our jump. They must have seeded the drive with a beacon during the fight," Shariah said, tracing symbols on the halotable. "We can't outrun them a second time." "So we changed the field," Travis replied, surprised at his own certainty. Images and tactics flickered through his mind, clearly leaking from Shariah's military memories. "The palace orbits inside a debris ring, right? We dive straight into the wreckage. Big ships can't follow without getting shredded." Shariah considered, then placed a steady hand over his on the throttle. "Shared thought is a powerful thing. Prepare for manual flight." The ship reverted to real space above Zeroth Prime, and Travis's breath caught. The planet below was ash and glass, clouds frozen into shining spirals. Around it drifted the broken bones of an ancient fleet, miles-long dreadnoughts split open like tin toys, their metal glinting in pale starlight. At the ring's center floated the imperial palace, a crystalline flower the size of a city. Petals folded tight around the star, crystal's heart. Cult destroyers emerged in pursuit, their guns already spitting lances of ruby fire. Shariah punched. The engines and the Corvette plunged toward the wreck belt. Jagged slabs of armor, the size of apartment blocks, whipped past the view screen. Every near miss rattled Travis's teeth. He guided the ship while Shariah adjusted shields to deflect shards before impact. The bond between them pulsed, her combat instincts flowing into his nerves, his quick improvisations sparking new maneuvers for her to amplify. Together, they threaded passages no sane pilot would attempt. Behind them, a destroyer tried to follow. A spinning battleship spine clipped its bow. The blast blossomed in silent fire, and the larger vessel disintegrated. The remaining cult ships broke formation. Unwilling to risk the gauntlet, "We bought some time," Travis breathed. Steering toward the palace, Ginger displayed the palace's outer docking, spires most crushed, one still intact but dormant. Shariah toggled comes to a narrow band. Imperial frequency 9. If any loyal Zarati yet live, answer. Only static replied. Shariah's jaw clenched. Then we enter alone. The intact spire loomed. Atmosphere sensors flickered between green and yellow, barely breathable. Shariah secured her adaptive armor. Its shimmering plates flowed over her form, leaving her face radiant and fierce. She handed Travis a compact rebreather and a pulse pistol far heavier than it looked. "I've never fired one of these," he muttered. "Point. Squeeze. Regret nothing," she said gently. "Stay near me." The airlock hissed open on a corridor, walls of cracked crystal, reflecting their torch beams in 1,000 fractured rainbows. Every footstep echoed like a bell. On pedestals lay stone sarcophagigens who had failed their final watch. Shariah bowed her head as they passed. Travis felt their silence like a pressure. "They were like you. Yes. Once we were legion. Now." Her voice trailed off. At the corridor's end stood a circular gate covered in sigils that glowed faintly at Shariah's approach. A depression in the center matched her palm. Beside it, a second circle brightened when Travis drew near. "The binding recognizes us both," she said. "Place your hand when I do." He swallowed, then set his palm on the cold crystal. Light flared, and words not in sound but meaning flooded his mind. Prove heart, prove soul, prove unity. The gate's petals began to unfurl. A thunderous crash boomed behind them. Travis spun. Esthrek strode from the shadows, crimson armor, bleeding energy, cult warriors at his heels. His smile was pure triumph. "Thank you, Guardian," the warlord purred. "You've opened the way for me." Shariah drew her blade, stance coiled and deadly. Travis raised his borrowed pistol, even though his hands shook. Cethrak's eyes glowed with cold hunger. "Stand aside and watch history reborn, or die clutching a human mistake." Travis felt Shariah's presence like a burning star beside him. He stepped closer, shoulder to shoulder with her, voice steady for the first time since the night he kissed a statue. "History can wait," he said. "Right now, you'll have to fight us both." Esthrek lunged, crimson blade cleaving the air, but Shariah met him with a clash that sent ripples of force through the corridor. Sparks rained from their weapons as they traded impossible blows, strength against strength, centuries-old technique against ruthless ambition. Travis held the line behind her, firing short bursts to keep the cult warriors back, every recoil jarring his arm, every breath reminding him he was wildly out of his depth. Yet he stayed, because leaving her to fight alone felt more impossible than facing death. The gate behind them continued to open, its petals blooming toward a chamber that pulsed with living starlight. Travis felt the call of millions of voices turning in slow surprise toward the disturbance, curious, hopeful, unsure. A thought struck him. The crystal wasn't just a prize, it was listening. If Shariah fell, Esthrek would enslave that collective soul. If Esthrek fell, the crystal still needed a guide, and Travis, the accidental partner, suddenly understood his part. Shariah cried out as a glancing strike tore across her shoulder, violet blood beating against armor. Travis's heart lurched. He saw Estrak pivot for a killing blow, and, without thinking, dove forward. The pistol's charge was gone. He hurled it like a club. Metal cracked against Estrak's helm, staggering the warlord one breath just long, enough for Shariah to drive her blade through the weak seam under his arm. Crimson energy flickered, then died. Estrak's blade clattered to the floor as he collapsed, stunned but alive. The remaining cultists hesitated, their faith shattered. Shariah raised her sword, voice ringing like a bell. The war ends now. Stand down, or the palace itself will cast you out. One by one, the cultists dropped their weapons, the fight draining from them. Travis felt something in the air loosen, like a knot untying. But the chamber beyond was still calling. Shariah turned to him, pain shadowing her golden eyes. The crystal is awake. It needs a choice. It will ask for your life. Travis stepped closer, pressing his forehead to hers. Then we give it something better. He took her hand and led her through the final archway. Inside, starlight flowed like water, forming a vast sphere suspended above a mirrored floor. Flickers of memory cities, children, songs, glittered in its depths. A whisper filled the chamber, soft, yet vast. Guardian, mate, why have you come? Shariah knelt, to free my people, not to enslave them, to offer them future, not chains. The light shifted to Travis. And you, smallest of sparks, will you give your life to open the way? His pulse hammered, but he answered with the truth he had found. Life freely given is powerful, but life freely shared is stronger. Let us bind. No one to sorrow. Take our bond, not our blood. Let your people decide their path and let us walk beside them, teaching what we know, learning what we do not. Silence stretched, deeper than vacuum. Then the sphere brightened, colors spiraling outward. A new answer, a new chance. We accept. The light poured through Shariah and Travis like warm rain. Pain vanished, wounds closed, strength flooded tired limbs. Around them, spectral forms stepped from the sphere's arati, restored in bodies of living crystal, faces shining with wonder. Others drifted upward, choosing forms of pure energy, scattering like newborn constellations into the ruined sky. Across the palace, systems long dormant hummed back to life. Emergency beacons lit corridors, medical bays powered on. Hope spread, faster than any army. Travis laughed a wild, giddy sound he hardly recognized as his own, when he realized the crystal had taken nothing from him at all. Instead, it had woven his heartbeat into its own. A tiny human cadence echoing forever in the grand chorus. Shariah rose, eyes bright with awe and relief. You changed the ritual, she whispered. You changed everything. He squeezed her hand. Guessed the galaxy was overdue for an update. Behind them, former cultists knelt in stunned silence as newly awakened Zarati offered them hands of forgiveness, not vengeance. Estrak, stripped of power, stared at the unfolding miracle. With tears of confusion, even he was given help to stand. Hours later, on a balcony overlooking the glowing palace, Travis watched shuttles ascend, ferrying survivors toward ships that now gathered in peaceful formation. Shariah joined him, her wounded armor replaced by a simple tunic that caught the starlight. The fleet has named me High Guardian, she said softly. But an empire is no longer what we seek. We will become stewards, healers, explorers. Travis smiled. Sounds like a job for a curious human and his outrageously fearless partner. She laughed, the sound like wind chimes. Partner, husband, co-conspirator, in impossible dreams. Then her expression turned earnest. Will you come with us? With me? He leaned in and kissed the lips that had started it all. Where you go, I go. I reserve the right to complain about the food. Far below, debris fields shimmered. as reconstruction drones lit engines for the first time in a millennium. Far above, newborn stars, glittered souls, choosing to roam the heavens. And in between stood a human who had kissed a statue as a joke, and an alien warrior who had waited 1,000 years, holding hands and planning routes to worlds neither had yet imagined. Around them, history pivoted toward something kinder, brighter, endlessly new.